Welcome to the Cedar Park United podcast. In this reflection from June 9th, 2024, Reverend Dr. Elisabeth Jones poses the question, what is progressive? And why do we need to be a beacon for it? One of the answers is clear, to share God's good news as widely as we can. This is the second of 4 reflections around the key directions of our congregation's community compass. We hope you'll be inspired.
Please pray with me just for a second. There are a lot of words swirling in this space, a word cloud teaching us something, Holy God. So help us in these next few moments to tease them out and find them smooth in our hands, rocks for the pilgrim journey. Amen. So later on this morning, we are going to be welcoming 2 people into membership in this church, and I think the first words out of my mouth connect very closely with one of them. When I was a kid, I was part of a Roman Catholic family. A practicing Roman Catholic family to boot. So I had this little book, it's called a missal, and it was punctuated throughout. Okay, I see a few nodding heads here. It had pictures of the saints, it had pictures of Jesus and of his mother Mary. And because I was a little kid and because these were in my missal, fancy name for Mass book, I assumed that Jesus grew up as part of a Catholic family too. I was Catholic, Jesus was Catholic. Everybody I knew when I was a little kid was Catholic. I don't even think I knew the word Christian in those days. I was just Catholic. So I turned 6 and I joined the Brownies. Brownies, part of the Girl Guide movement. And my new best friend, Rebecca, at some point told me she wasn't a Catholic and she wasn't a Christian either. She was a Jew, and she went to church, my word, not hers, on Saturdays. Oh, and by the way, Lizzie T., Jesus was Jewish too. This was something I really could not fathom, and neither could my other Brownie friend, her name was Julie, who told us that she was C of E. Church of England equals Anglican, C of E. And that Jesus Christ was one of them. So somewhere in that phase of life, we 3, I think, managed to figure out that if we were going to stay friends, that we would have to realize that on this landscape of faith, you needed adjectives to sort out who you were. You were a Roman Catholic Christian, an Anglican Christian. Or you might bump into what in England we call the wee frees. United Reformed Church and Free in Church. Or you could be a Methodist Christian, or you could be a Presbyterian Christian, or a Moravian Christian, or a Baptist Christian. And then the 70s came along, you could be a charismatic Christian. Or you could be an evangelical Christian, or a born-again Christian, and any number of other qualifiers. Let me be clear that predating my entry into the world, that's a few decades ago, 2 of these adjectives arrived on the landscape, not as markers or beacons so much as battering rams and dividing lines. In 1910, some Christians who were deeply concerned about, quote, the reckless influence of newfangled things like science, notably biology and evolutionary science, and things like political liberalism, they issued a series of essays. There were 12 of them. And those 12 essays between them collected together were called the 5 Fundamentals of Christian Faith. Aha, I see little light bulbs going on all over the place. From there, we get the word fundamentalism as an adjective attached not just to Christianity, but to religions in general. So it goes back that far. In immediate contrast, those for whom science or industrial progress or social justice concerning labor or poverty or immigration, the use of social, scientific, and literary and historical critical methods of studying the Bible, all of these were considered to be part and parcel of a Christian life that a man called Walter Rauschenbusch described as progressive. So this word, Norman, is not new. It might be new to a lot of us hearing it in recent years, but it goes back over 100 years. So we are now sitting in this building here. From its inception, when Otto Lilly first started holding Presbyterian worship out here in Point Claire in the summers in the 1890s, Cedar Park has ended up located in that progressive end of that binary I described. Are you for science? Are you against science? Are you for social justice? Or is Christianity all about living right so that we get to heaven when we die? In 1925, the Presbyterian Lilly Memorial Church voted to join the new United Church of Canada, whose anniversary is tomorrow, by the way. Since then, you can read Jeannie's, excuse me, I need to wet this whistle. Pause a minute. If you read Jeannie's histories of our church, you will see that Cedar Park again and again pops up like a hardy perennial in the Christian flowerbed, of progressive Christian flowerbed. We were one of the earliest churches to elect women as to elder positions, called female ministers, called gay ministers, became an affirming ministry, fostering an ecological theology, and the list goes on. This congregation's decades-long commitment to social justice, to the work of making the world a safer place for refugees. It goes on and on. That's what this church has been since this church has been. And because it's our focus today, I want us to just dig down a little bit more about what the adjective means for ourselves, but also what it means in our impact upon others with whom we share this planet. So I love reading. I did a lot of reading, but I realized that what I actually wanted to do was to just ask some of my friends and colleagues in this religious work. Just sent a few emails, picked up the phone in the last couple of weeks, and got some answers from them as to what they understand progressive means as an adjective attached to their faith. On the screen now, go past that one, please, and go to the next one. There you go. I know you can't read it, but you're going to find out a little bit more about it. This is Kathy Hamilton's word cloud. I sent her the email, what do you mean? She sat down one morning and created this word cloud, and you will hear her in a moment or two with some of her answers. From others, I got some of these answers too, and I want to read them for you. One person said, I think it means that we are willing to question traditional understandings of God, of humans, of the way societies run, and we are eager to see deeper visions, both old and new, of naming God as something other than old white guy in the sky. Quoting, or of decolonizing society, or of creating havens of safety from xenophobia and systemic misogyny. You can tell why that person's a friend of mine. They like using long words. Here's another one. We think, as progressives, that so much of what Jesus taught us was not how to get to heaven after we die, but how to make a bit of heaven on earth while we live. How to make a bit of heaven on earth while we live, and not just for ourselves, but for everybody. Feeling okay with this so far, I hope? Or there's this one. Progressive thinking, or progressive anything, is by its nature curious and open to new revelations, whether that is discovering the genome or learning from the wisdom of indigenous ecology or medicine. So that takes it a little bit out of the realm of just religion, but says progressive is by its nature curious. Another quote. Progressive means we are willing to be wrong, to learn from mistakes, to try other things in the hope of something better. That sounds a bit like science. Asking questions, that didn't work, let's try something new. I'll continue with the quote. Progressive thinking is inquisitive, a bit like a 3-year-old always asking why, what, and how. Permission for us to drive each other nuts. But why? But why? Now, I do want you to hear Kathy Hamilton this morning, who, in addition to sending that word cloud, sent in an audio file of her answers or her thoughts on the question that I posed to these people. And what she does in this clip is she brilliantly and metaphorically ties the word progressive to the word beacon, and I can see that a lot of you will get what she's talking about. So listen to what she says, and then we'll hold that thought that she gives us while I ask us one last question. So can we have the sound clip, please?
Since I was 10, I've worn glasses, or in recent years contact lenses, to assist my vision. I wear progressive bifocals so that I can see relatively clearly, both at a distance and up close. My glasses have no defining line. Instead, the lens changes gradually, progressively. But I still have to move my head up and down to get the right focal point. Most days, though, I wear bifocal contact lenses, which allow my eyes to focus based on the opening of the iris to the light. The brighter the light, the better I see up close, without having to move my head. So in this metaphor, if Cedar Park functions as a beacon, offering light, then that light will help me to see better, to see the wonder of human diversity, to see the needs of my neighbors, to practice environmental stewardship, to follow Jesus, his teachings, and his way.
Shout out to Kathy. That was brilliant. I did not know that about progressive contact lenses, but it's absolutely wonderful, and I would love to end there. However, I want to appeal to your patience for 2 more minutes, because one of the questions that has been growing in urgency for me since around 2016 or so, both as a minister and as a pastoral leader and as a human being on this planet, well, it's a rather blunt question. Who cares if we're progressive or not? Does it even matter? Is it just a philosophical luxury, or is there something at stake? And I would say there is something at stake. You know as well as I do that we are living in a moment in global society where just after we have commemorated D-Day's 80th anniversary, fascism is still troubling our world. We have threats to human rights all over the globe, particularly of the non-white, the non-male, the non-heteronormative majority of the world. We are also witnessing the unconscionable hoarding of God's abundance by a very few. And if I just go to money for a minute, 2,000 billionaires in this world have more wealth than 4.6 billion people. So those things that Kathy named about being able to see more clearly, celebrating the wonder of creation and human diversity, or tending to the needs of others, the environmental stewardship she mentioned, these things, far from being a common dream and purpose of our entire species, are, being actively and systematically undermined, criticized as being woke, trying to use words as a pejorative. So does it matter that we are progressive Christians? You bet. It really does matter that this tiny wee church by a river on a vast continent dares to dream God's dream of justice. And it matters that we, because of exactly where we are, blessed with relative economic security, and for most of us, not all of us, the privilege of whiteness. There is a call for us to open our eyes and our hearts and our hands and our wallets and our mouths as far and as wide as we can, and shine that beacon as far and as wide as we can. It matters. And it also matters that we join with other adjectival Christians, other adjectival Muslims and Jews and atheists and humanists, those people who, like us, are longing and willing and working to make this world, this side of heaven, less of the living hell that it is becoming for too many. It matters. It matters that we hold on to that belief that this world can be turned round right again.